What if I told you that the factory burning down on the news, the cartel moving into a new neighborhood, Saudi Arabia refusing American dollars, and the astrological age we just entered are all the same story? Not conspiracy, not coincidence, convergence. When an old system is dying, it doesn't announce itself. It catches fire. I'm going to show you the thread that connects all of it. Stay with me. Since 2021, there has been a statistically anomalous wave of fires and explosions at food processing plants, chemical facilities, and industrial infrastructure across the United States and beyond. Mainstream coverage treated most of these as isolated incidents. But when you zoom out, the pattern is worth asking about. Food processing plants, fertilizer depots, energy substations, the infrastructure that feeds a population and powers an economy. These are not just accidents. They are stress points, places where the old industrial supply chain, built on cheap labor, concentrated production, and fossil fuel energy, is showing its fragility. Whether the cause is negligence, economic pressure, or something more deliberate, the result is the same: a centralized system revealing its single points of failure. This is what the end of an era looks like at the material level. The infrastructure of the old world becoming unstable. Not because someone is destroying it necessarily, but because the energetic architecture that supported it is dissolving. In alchemy, this process has a name: nigredo, the blackening, the burning before the gold emerges. To understand what's happening with the dollar, you need to understand one deal that shaped the last 50 years of human history. In 1974, after Nixon took America off the gold standard, the U.S. made an agreement with Saudi Arabia. Oil, the world's most essential commodity, would be priced and traded exclusively in U.S. dollars. Every country that needed oil had to hold American dollars. That gave the United States an extraordinary structural advantage: the ability to print money that the entire world was forced to absorb. That deal is ending. Saudi Arabia has publicly opened discussions with China to price oil in yuan, the first fracture in the 50-year wall. Iran has been trading oil with Russia, China, and regional allies in local currencies and bilateral arrangements, bypassing the dollar system entirely. The BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and expanding, has been actively building alternative settlement systems, development banks, and trade corridors that do not require the dollar as an intermediary. Even the Dominican Republic and Latin American nations are watching this shift, because decades of IMF debt structures and U.S. monetary policy have defined their economic sovereignty, or lack thereof. When the currency of control loses its grip, every system built on top of it starts to wobble. This is not just economics. This is a transfer of gravity. When the center can no longer hold, power doesn't disappear. It redistributes. And in the vacuum, new players emerge. Some of them build, some of them burn. Here is what nobody wants to say out loud. When a government can no longer deliver security, food, currency stability, or economic opportunity, people don't wait. They find alternative structures that will. Cartels in Mexico now control entire supply chains: energy, food, medicine, transportation. They fund schools and clinics in communities the federal government abandoned. This is not an endorsement. This is pattern recognition. In Haiti, gang coalitions have functionally replaced state governance across major territories. In parts of Central America, cartel governance is more reliable than government governance for daily life. What you are watching is not a crime story. It is a power vacuum story. When the centralized systems fail, whether that's the petrodollar, the food supply chain, the rule of law, decentralized power structures move in. Some of those decentralized structures are beautiful: community networks, cooperative economies, indigenous governance revival, digital currencies, mutual aid systems. Some of them are brutal. Both are a response to the same collapse. The question that the Age of Aquarius asks humanity is, which decentralized structure do you choose to build? Every approximately 2,160 years, the Earth's precession causes the spring equinox to move into a new constellation. For the past 2 millennia, we have been in the Age of Pisces, the age of centralized religion, sacrificial mythology, savior figures, monarchies, empires, and concentrated authority. One God, one king, one bank, one reserve currency. We are now entering the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, the sign of the collective, the networked, the decentralized, the humanitarian, and the revolutionary. 01. Pluto entered Aquarius in 2023 and will transit there until 2044. Pluto is the planet of death, regeneration, and transformation of power structures. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. Mass restructuring of who holds power and how. EO2. Saturn and Jupiter conjuncted in Aquarius in December 2020. The Great Conjunction, that astrologers marked as the official threshold crossing into the new era. That same month, the first COVID vaccines, the Bitcoin price surge, and the Capitol events in Washington. The old world resisting the new one being born. 03. Aquarius rules technology, networks, and collective intelligence. The internet, blockchain, AI, decentralized finance, these are not coincidences of timing. These are Aquarian technologies emerging as Aquarian energy rises. 04. Aquarius rules upheaval of authoritarian structures. Every system built on the Piscean model, centralized control of currency, food, information, religion, is experiencing structural stress, not because someone planned it, because the frequency of the age is incompatible with the architecture of the old one. The fires are not random. They are alchemical. The old structure must be reduced to ash before the new one can be built on clear ground. So let's pull the thread. The factory fires are the material world expressing what the astrologers already mapped. The physical infrastructure of the Piscean industrial age is burning. Food systems, energy systems, supply chains built on centralization and extraction are becoming unsustainable. This is Negredo, the alchemical blackening before renewal. The petrodollar's collapse is the financial architecture of empire losing its foundation. For 50 years, the dollar as the world's reserve currency gave one nation the ability to define the economic reality of every other nation. Iran, BRICS, and the Global South are not just making economic decisions. They are declaring that the Piscean age of one dominant centralized power is over. Aquarian energy distributes. It does not concentrate. The rise of cartel and gang power is what happens in the gap, the painful, violent, messy transition between the old system and the new. It is not the Aquarian future. It is the Piscean system's final defense mechanism and the first chaotic expression of decentralization before people learn to build with intention instead of desperation. The Age of Aquarius is not a pretty song from a 1960s musical. It is a 260-year restructuring of how power, information, wealth, and consciousness are organized on this planet. And we are living through the first decades of that restructuring, which is always the most volatile because the old system does not yield without a fight. You are not watching chaos. You are watching a world system having a controlled demolition. The question is whether you are standing inside the building or watching from high ground. The people who understand this moment will not be the ones waiting for a savior, a president, a guru, a system to fix it. That is Piscean thinking, waiting for the one who has the authority. Aquarian thinking asks, what network am I building? What decentralized structure am I part of creating? Where am I building sovereignty? In my body, my finances, my community, my mind? Get out of dollar-only thinking. Understand multiple currencies, hard assets, and community exchange. Build your local network. Grow food or know who does. Learn to move and store value outside of any single centralized system. Protect your nervous system because the chaos is designed to keep you reactive, consuming, and easily managed. A regulated nervous system in a chaotic world is itself a revolutionary act. And know this, you were born for this specific transition. If you are watching this, you already sensed that something large was shifting before you had words for it. That instinct is intelligence. Trust it. The water bearer does not drown in the water. She carries it and decides where it flows. I'll see you in the new world.